The viewpoints, stance, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Keep fans. Time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. We're not even feeling bronze today.
I got to tell you, Big O, just looking at today and where we stand right now, the success of South Florida sports, it used to be you would have me on in these accurate Pembroke Pines reports, and you'd be talking about all the other flailing teams. Between what
Heat has success, by the way.
Yeah, and then you look at what Coco did on Saturday, representing South Florida. You look at what Campagna did without Messi, and Messi had his own goal for Argentina. You look at the Canes with the statement victory that Orlando Alzugaray, I don't know how long, has been waiting for to have a moment. I don't care if Texas A&M is up or down. And then you look at the Dolphins in a moment of truth at a season opener, which doesn't come around very often. And all of a sudden, we're reeling it all in. All of a sudden, you can see down here. There you go. And your Marlins. And what they did against the Phillies, against a quality Philadelphia team in their comeback victories also.
Phillies. I mean, they've won both series back-to-back. That's pretty freaking good, dude.
After the jump start against the Nationals, yeah. So when you look at what's going on down here at South Florida sports, it's like across the Big O Show platform, beyond our Acura Pembroke Pines reports, it's kind of nice and it's kind of different. And Big O, as I look back on this weekend, it's just kind of crazy. So many different ways. Coco's come back. No Messi, and InterMiami shows they're here to stay because they have a depth of talent that we never had before on this team since its MLS entry. You look at the Marlins. They were dead. They were 16, 18 above 500. They were below 500. They showed the fight also. All of a sudden, it's like one of those Modelo commercials. You should get a sponsor from them. The fighting spirit in South Florida right now is real and alive.
Oh, no, this was one of the best weekends in South Florida in a while now because of all the things. Because I think there's a lot of meaning to what's going on. Like, Inter is real. I think the Canes now are real. It's like really turning around under Mario. Yes. And I do believe the Dolphins are real. I've always felt that this group now that's there with Greer and McDaniel and Tua and all that, I think it's real, man. You know, so yeah, I think that's the beauty of this weekend. A lot of the things that are developing are actually, it's not just flukish wins. There's real substance being built here, you know, and everybody's trying to catch up to the team you cover, you know, every day, because that's always been the one franchise for the last 25 years that's had its shit together, for a lack of a better way of putting it. But it's always been like that. You know what I'm saying?
I'd also say this. These teams are also fun. The Marlins are a comeback team. They don't give up. Even before those two final defensive plays by the Dolphins, oh my God, this offense, I know Tua is going to have some errant throws, but Tyreek Hill might be the most electric player in the NFL. He certainly was in week one in the NFL. So you had what he's going on, and it does show with the right system. Tyler Van Dyke, who really was put in some very bad positions at the start at UM, is now in the right system with the right playbook and the right playmakers. And so that's the thing is, winning is fun, but winning in a fun way is even more fun. That's what this weekend is about. Yeah,
he was deadly accurate too, man. I was really impressed with Van Dyke. He made some terrific throws on Saturday. It was just a lot of fun. All right, so let's get to a little basketball. What is the latest? Do we know anything going on with the whole Lillard situation? It's still, we haven't even approached mid-September yet. So
you know what?
Desperation hasn't set in for Portland.
No, but I think the Blazers are sweating it. And I think Joe Cronin, who sort of is overplaying his hand, and this is a guy who expected by now there would be other offers that he could take to the Heat, and he can go, well, look, we have Toronto, we have Brooklyn, you bet, and he has nothing. He has nothing on his plate. There was a very interesting moment on NBA TV earlier this offseason when the general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans went on there and said, the one thing he did when he was in Cleveland is he created a market, is when you want to make a trade, you leak to reporters that we have someone out there, David Griffin. He said, you create that there's another offer, that the Celtics are interested. Joe Cronin hasn't been able to do that. Every credible NBA beat writer, you've seen Mark Spears, Chris Mannix, everyone, there's nothing. Shams, Woj. Woj is pushing as hard as he can for his buddy in Portland there to create a market. And he'll wait 2 months, and he'll wait 10 months, and he'll wait 35 years, 62-year-old, Damian Lillard. No, he won't. He has nothing right now. And all of a sudden, I think Portland's in a position of desperation. I got to tell you, Big O, I think the Heat's best offer is too much. I know you and I always come back to the offer for Shaq, and you had to sweeten it because he was freaking Shaquille O'Neal, and the Heat were down then. They needed to get their first championship. Yeah. You need to put 3 picks, and Hero, and Jovic, and Jaquez in here. You don't need to. The asking price shouldn't be that much because the Heat shouldn't make it that much. So you know what? I think the Heat are in a position of control right now. And they're going, you know what, Joe Crow? We ain't giving you that, but we're giving you this. And this is going to be a damn well better than you're going to wind up down the road either. So I think the Heat are in a good position because the Heat are dealing with this in a prudent and practical approach.
Yeah, I think that's the way you've got to approach it. You got to take a hardline approach because in the end, look, man, there aren't a lot of teams that are going to take in $300 million. It's just not. There's very few teams that can make the move for that guy because you're paying the $216 and then the tax that's going to go to it. You're going to end up paying easily $300 million when it's all said and done. So, and the Heat knows that, and all the credible reporters out there already have been talking with everybody, and that's why Joe can't even create a fake offer because it'll get snuffed out right away already because since there are very few teams that could possibly be interested, it's really easy to sift through all of it because it's only going to take you a couple of phone calls. It's not like you have to track down 10 different teams and go inside every front office and try to figure it out. It's only going to be 2 or 3 teams that are going to be interested if they are interested. And at this point, that's the one thing that before the NBA got involved, that's where you got to give the agent a lot of credit because he kind of laid that groundwork out there, and that kind of like ended everything, and he put his client in a position of strength right away. So kudos to that age and the way he handled all of this.
Exactly. I got to tell you, Big O, and I can't show you the name, but before we began our show this morning, our Acura Pembroke Pines report, a Western Conference scout called me. I said, I'll call you back. Big O's my priority. I'll do him first. I'll talk after. So there are people in the league trying to figure out what's going on, which is very strange. They're the ones who should know. They're not going to overbid. They're not going to bid against themselves. They want to know what's going on. So I think Portland got himself in a real corner. And when Joe Cronin spoke to us on July 10th at the Summer League in Vegas, and he said this could take months. Look, I came on that day with you, and I said, you know what, Big O? Months are fine. It's July. We have to August. We have to September. Well, now the months are the months already, and training camp is coming. Matter of fact, I was speaking to Anthony Chang, who I know you have on later in the week on the Big O show also, and even he told me, he said, I got to be honest, when Heat Media Day is October 2nd, we're all going to be looking in Portland, right? So will you, Big O. What is Scoot Henderson saying? Is Damian Lillard there? How is Chauncey Billups dealing with this? And you know what, Big O? We're going to look in Portland on October 3rd when they open camp, and the 4th and the 10th when they play their first exhibition game. Right, and man, if you are trying, you know this, Big O.
You're going to be following it like a soap opera.
Yes.
Right.
And if you're trying to bring along a young developmental team, we've seen it a little bit in Winning Time and the Lakers show. If you have young players, you don't want them dealing with externals. You want Scoot Henderson being told, you're the future. You're our Magic. Maybe not our Magic, but you're our guy. And you want Shaedon Sharpe and you want Anthony Simons to be told, you're our future. And then you have this 33-year-old guy just sitting there who wants to win right now, who is talking about teaming with LeBron and playing in the Olympics next summer in Paris, as if that's his priority. Damian Lillard looks like he might do that also. That's a lot going on. You're not talking about Pat Riley as coach. You're talking about Chauncey Billups, a guy who's just started. I think Joe Cronin has created a situation. Sometimes you don't win a trade. Sometimes you simply satisfy the best possible situation. He can still do that with the Heat. And yes, Big O and other hosts around the country will say, You see? He gave in. He gave the Heat what they wanted. He gave the player what he wanted. But you can't be concerned with winning a trade. You have to be concerned about your own team.
I got another one for you that
Sure.
we don't talk enough about. If you're Scoot and you're all these guys, you're watching how this guy's handling the most important player in the history of the franchise, right up there, obviously, with the other two guys, Drexler and damn it, the big white dude. What's his name? The center.
Bill Walton. Yeah, I think next time we refer to him as the big redhead, but okay.
Big redhead, exactly. Those obviously, so they're going to see how you're handling what has been the franchise too at the same time. And so those kids are going to go, damn, dude, this is kind of a dysfunctional place. This is where I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be a leader for this guy. And look how he's treating Dame and how uncomfortable he's making the situation for us. So Joe Cronin also has to kind of look at, forget about the periphery of worried about the next free agent that will consider Portland.
Right.
That's not really the case here. But think about the people that are in your building right now. You're trying to develop the future team, and you're trying to show them that you know what the hell you're doing. You've already effed it up with the last guy. Brother, you better make this transition a lot more smoother and make people feel comfortable, because the more you make Dame and everybody else uncomfortable, you're already muddying the water of your future, too, at the same time.
Yeah, you know what, Big O, and I think out of this, and please don't aggregate this, but if you do mention the Big O show at Acura Pembroke Pines, I don't think Joe Cronin's very long for the Blazers. Because when you have to make this deal and you have to trade your star, just like Mitch Kupchak with the Lakers, when you trade Shaquille, eventually you're seen as that guy. Joe Cronin is in a corner right now. And he simply can't win this situation. I would expect he makes the move. I would expect the Blazers say, thank you for dealing with us in this difficult time. They move on to another GM who could develop a young developmental roster. He's in a bad position. And by not acting with haste and not showing swiftly, I can deal with this situation. I'm up to this moment. Our franchise is up to this moment. When you dilly-dally and you let it fester like this, it just turns out ugly. And again, teams need to move on. I wrote about this in my Sunday column. People are going, why did the Heat make a move for Christian Wood? Why haven't they added Kelly Oubre? Well, you need to know what your team is right now. The Heat need to know who we're filling out with. And I remember one of my best and worst Big O moments, July 2014. I remember I was in Vegas talking to you. The Miami Heat, actually Orlando Summer League, they added Danny Granger and Josh McRoberts because these were the two players that were going to get LeBron James to stay. And as cantankerous as you think Big O is now, believe me, 9 years ago, he was like, what the F are they thinking? These guys are not going to be, LeBron, I'm playing with Danny Granger and Josh and McBob. It's going to be good. That's why the Heat is waiting also. So the league is on hold. This has to happen. Damian Lillard with the Portland Trail Blazers makes no sense. That should be evident to all parties involved.
And by the way, this kid that signed with the Lakers, apparently he's notoriously lazy. And that's
Christian Wood is, you know what Christian Wood is, Big O? He's sort of Hassan Whiteside 2.0.
Right,
and
exactly.
You dealt with Hassan Whiteside 1.0, and that's why. So I know Heat Nation, you want every name. So Christian Wood was the name. Now Kelly Oubre is the name. You don't need names. You got your names. Your names are Butler. Your names are Adebayo. Your name is either going to be Damian Lillard or it'll be the next one that comes along down the road.
Yeah, and by the way, anybody that's out there, think about this. The entire market's pretty much dried up.
Correct.
And Christian Wood is still available, and he's young.
Right.
That's an indictment of all indictments. If he was a 37-year-old Christian Wood and he's still available, then we understand why he's still available. But he's a 27-year-old or whatever, right around there. I mean, he's super young. This is a kid that should have already been locked up and should be on the rise because the Lord blessed him with all kinds of skills. But if he's still out there, remember, there's a reason why. And it's because the kid's just he's actually not a Heat player. Just
no, that's right.
He's not a Heat player.
Thank you, Big O. That's what I was trying to tell people. It's almost like Hassan. He's on his fourth team already with all these numbers and stats. Just like Hassan went from Miami, went to Portland, went to Utah. There's a reason these players move that way. Again, he took a minimum deal with the Lakers. He's not going to start. Anthony Davis might start. They made a move already. They got Jackson Hayes from the Portland Trail Blazers. They have Jared Vanderbilt. He was just looking for a landing spot. Look, I like Kelly Oubre. He can score. And I got to tell you, if he trade a couple of scorers in a Damian Lillard deal, maybe you move in that direction. But right now, you just sit back. October 3rd is still far enough away. You can get that taken care of.
Shooters now. You're loaded right now. Until you unload shooters, you can't add Kelly Oubre because, again, there are cap issues and cap ramifications to all this stuff. And so you got to make sure you move some money off before you add other money, because if you don't end up, God forbid, you never end up making that move and you add Oubre and all that on top of it, then you've got a whole bunch of problems there. And then you're ripping them for mishandling everything. You know what I mean? It's like, at this point, we just have to kind of stay the course. Kelly Oubre or what's the name of this big goofball that went over to the Lakers?
Christian Wood.
Neither one of those guys are the reasons why you're going to win a title.
Yes.
If you're going to win a title, it's because there's a dude named Damian Lillard that comes to your town. If he comes to town, now you've got a shot at a title. Okay, it ain't going to be Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, you wait for your moment there. I agree.
What do you got going on the Sun Sentinel?
Well, I wrote a piece about, I'm not going to overstate what Nikola Jovic did in helping Serbia win the silver medal at the World Cup. But what I am going to state is significant is he had a meaningful summer. Whether it was Heat Summer League, whether it was training with the Serbia national team, whether it was playing big games and big moments. He had a great full-court running dunk last night in the game. Even though they wound up losing to Germany, he showed you something. That's exactly what Pat Riley wanted. He wanted Nikola Jovic to do two things this offseason. Improve your game, number one. Improve your value, number two. He did both of those. All of a sudden, I'm not in Heat camp. You can't trade Nikola Jovic because you're giving up too much. No, you can. But now Portland got to see what they might be getting. The fans there might be a little more receptive. Is he still in play for a trade? Sure he is. He's not your blocking stone, just like Caron Butler wasn't for Shaq. Eventually, you have to part with something. But I think what Nikola Jovic did this summer with Serbia was meaningful because it shows on a big stage, under big-time pressure, he could produce from you. He had that 25-point game when he didn't miss a shot from the field. It's encouraging. You and I have spoken before that if not Heat in the moment when we thought it was going to crap last season, we said, hey, but they've got Adebayo, they've got Hero. Well, now they have Jovic, and now they have Jaime Jaquez Jr., so there's also that pipeline. If they choose or need to go in that direction, they can also. So I think it was a very meaningful summer for Nikola Jovic. And man, I feel bad for Eric Spoelstra to devote that amount of time and not wind up with a medal on that C or D USA roster is a real shame. But I'm sure Spo will ride it out through next summer's Olympics. And even right now, we're seeing stories. It was just reported by The Athletic this morning. LeBron is interested in going to the Olympics as a final hurrah. He's going to bring Steph. He's going to bring Chris Paul. Maybe Jimmy Butler jumps aboard. So it was a rough 6 weeks for USA, especially the 3 weeks in the Philippines. But I think Eric Spoelstra is going to get a real chance of a lifetime next summer in Paris when and if I expect he stays with USA basketball.
Right. Well, I bet you if he would have been the head coach, maybe they're in the gold medal game.
That's my Ask Ira for the next month. Yeah.
He knows how to work. He's the better chef with whatever ingredients you have in your kitchen. Put it that way. That's a great way to put it. That's all I can tell you about Eric Spoelstra, and that's what I've learned about him over the years. Mm-hmm. He is the best chef with whatever the hell you have in the kitchen. He's going to make one hell of a meal out of it, and he's way better than Steve Kerr at that. Steve Kerr has done a fabulous job of managing the big egos and the big talents. I've watched Spo with the lesser talents and the great talents, and he's done special, with both. So to me, and by the way, what you were talking about with Jovic, he had a typical Pat Riley summer. Pat wants you to play basketball. Yes. He doesn't care who you are. He wants you to stay in shape. He wants you to sharpen your game. He's not big on having the off season off. He's actually big on playing basketball in the off season. So besides building your value, he had a typical Pat Riley summer because that's the way he likes it.
And the kid's only 20. The future is really ahead of him. It was nice to see. I agree.
Yeah. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Ira, as always, thank you, my brother. We will catch up next week, my friend. Appreciate you.
Enjoyable weekend, enjoyable segment on the Acura Pembroke Pines Report. Thanks, Big O.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA Report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's in Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.